Disclaimer! Crossing the Line is not a show intended to bully or harass anyone. Do not go out of your way to find or mess with the authors featured on our podcast. They make what we do possible, and we love them. And you. Thanks. Enjoy.
Mama didn't raise no fool.
Be cool, Scooby-Doo.
Be cool, Scooby-Doo.
Did any of us even watch that when it was around?
What's your favorite episode of Be Cool, Scooby-Doo?
The one where Fred pulls Shaggy aside and says, "Listen, Shaggy, I know we've had two men on this team for a long time, but I'm getting kind of upset with the ratio here, so I'm going to have to ask you to leave." And then Shaggy goes, "Oh, okay," and then gets a minimum wage job for the rest of the episodes and never seen again.
It sounds pretty good.
Yeah, not much happens in the episode. It's mostly just Shaggy asking for a raise and his boss saying no.
Is Scooby still part of the crew?
Scooby is Shaggy's boss.
Fred said, "Listen, Scooby, we've been doing this for a while, and the whole dog thing, but I don't really like the ratio. I'm gonna have to ask you to go."
Shaggy says okay, or Scooby says okay, but he gets to the interview 1 minute before Shaggy, so he becomes his boss.
I like the 40-minute cutlass sequence in the middle of the episode where Shaggy has to fill out an application, but he doesn't know how to fill out certain parts of it, so he painstakingly Googles how to.
40 minutes? How long are the episodes?
It's like an hour and a half. It's a movie.
Wow, it's just like Game of Thrones, except Scooby-Doo.
It's the
Like
season
Scoob,
finale.
what sort of experience would you say I've had?
I don't know, Shaggy. Or you want this job? You want to tell the truth, or do you want this job, Shaggy?
Like, they think I do taxes?
Oh yeah, my last job was manager at a similar establishment.
What was the establishment? Mystery stink.
Taco smell.
Let me just give them a call real quick. Ah!
I forgot their number. I think they went out of business.
But not because of me.
References. Oh, shit.
I'll just put my number down.
3 times.
And then he's sitting in the meeting. They're talking to him. Like, let me just give him a call, and you just hear the. Oh, let me take this. Hello?
Hello, are you calling in regards to Shaggy Rogers?
He's pretty cool.
I
I'd hire him.
I got rules, man.
You should see the way he puts down a pizza.
You should see the way he makes a pizza. Please, for the love of God.
Please see him make food in your establishment.
Like I'm begging you, man.
With adequate pay.
More than adequate pay.
He made
I got a dog to feed, man.
he.
You want to talk to my dog? He'll vouch for me.
Here, listen.
Scoob, speak. No, Scoob, he's the nice man.
At least he is for now.
I'll let you know if things change.
Like that man from Little Caesars. Now he wasn't very nice.
I don't want Little Caesars in the Scooby lore. Retract your statement.
Just reverse what I said.
God, imagine if Shaggy worked at Little Caesars.
I could fucking see it.
That'd be his saddest existence in the multiverse.
He would actually look good in the uniform, to be honest. The hat and the shirt.
Yeah, it fit.
Steven, do you want to talk about the recent Lolita Caesars drama?
Sure. There's not much to say, really.
Oh, there is.
I made back on Twitter, there was a themed hentai restaurant meme going around, such as, let's see, what were some good ones?
Femboy Hooters started it all.
Femboy Hooters, and then friggin' Goth IHOP or something like that. Goth Girl IHOP.
Tomboy Outback.
Tomboy Outback, yeah.
MILF Fridays.
There we go, yeah, that was a good one.
BBW Waffle House.
Red Cheeks Lobster.
Long Dick Steakhouse.
Girl McDonald's.
Golden Arches.
McDick.
You're onto something.
There we go. But regardless, I made a meme like towards the end of its life cycle, and I made it Lolita Caesars, and the joke is just that well, it's pretty self-explanatory, but regardless, I made a false advert as my art with a girl bending over on the left, and then on the right is like a fake Little Caesars like coupon deal advertisement, and at the bottom there's a now hiring section, and then it has an asterisk underneath with fine print saying must be 18 years or older to apply, but you must be petite enough for Twitter to bitch about it. And I posted it where I usually post my friggin' art, and one of the sites that I usually post on is Fur Affinity. And Fur Affinity, today I just got a notification that I am on a month suspension, and they gave me a 4th level, which is their highest level suspension warning, which is if you fuck up again, you lose your account. Because that picture, in their own words, depicted naked child or something like that.
Yeah, it was like naked child girl.
Yeah, and regardless, and it's just so hilarious that they skimmed past the entire joke of the friggin' artwork, and I shared that with a number of friends, including these two, and friggin'...
I mean, to begin with, it's very tasteful, the nudity, but even if it was, like...
It's not like I fucking showed her... It's not like I gave her a word bubble, giving her a lisp, and, like, really leaned into the gimmick. I just made it, like, as surface level as I possibly could.
It's very tasteful, there's no genitalia, and it explicitly says on the image that she's 18.
Right.
In the same picture that got banned.
Yeah, and fucking, I was sharing it with my friends, and one of my online friends was like, I guarantee you they just saw the title Lolita Caesars and were like...
I think Fur Affinity just wants to destroy all non-furries.
That's what I thought, but they destroyed it on the basis that it was a naked girl child, and I have a lot more human porn on my account than that. So if that was the case, they would have taken out numerous ones, and my account would be gone.
Maybe they were just looking for an easy out.
I think so.
Strategically placing their pawns.
Right. Maybe.
Their furry pawns.
They're concerned because you have more followers than them.
It's true.
They're gonna wake up one day and it'll be blueberryaffinity.com and they won't know what happened.
Dude,
it's gonna be Blue Axis.
Blue Axis.
Some moderator like the quickies just changes stuff around on Fur Affinity on your behalf.
Dude, I
think it's funny.
If I ever owned Fur Affinity and I renamed it to...
And you will.
Okay, when I owned Blue Affinity...
You already have a bunny OC, it's easy.
Then I just... I make it a copy of Ink Bunny, except it's just fucking Blue Bunny or something like that.
That's ice cream!
Not anymore.
And you own Blue Bunny?
I'm fucking paid.
You just use your typefacing skills to make perfect replicas of other websites, but make better versions of their websites that look more professional.
You sell patented cum ice cream.
I'm gonna win every fucking lawsuit, just do it.
It's just vanilla, but it's funny, so people buy it anyway.
These fuckers come into the courtroom with their like 16 lawyers, and I just represent myself and win.
You scratch
Say what you will,
you
but
scratch
my
your
website.
belly in your open shirt and say, "Your Honor, check out these fat titties." He's like, "Approved," and he bangs the gavel.
He
Your
fucking
Honor.
smacks the picture.
I know my commissions have closed, Your Honor, but for you, I'm willing to make an exception.
Like,
I have one fat
I am
slot
judge,
open.
jury, and executioner, and I execute my right to nut.
And I execute the other blue bunny that's not fat asses.
Blue Bunny, where's your fat asses? Come on, bro.
I want to make if I made it like Blue Axis, which is a parody of O Axis, you know I'm going in front of a camera to make a parody of Butch Hartman's introduction. Like, ass, titties, these two things will come together.
You could make a
Hey,
perfect
Brief.
parody of O-Axis and have the exact same outcome as far as income.
Hey, Breed fans, click the link to see more videos, and check out this amazing fan art over here, but there's nothing there.
It's my
There
art.
are way too many fucking videos where Butch Hartman said, check out this cool fan art, and forgot to put in fan art.
Check out this
So it's
awesome
just a blank
fan
space that he's pointing to. It's so shitty.
art. Whoa, check out this awesome fan art.
It's like, oh, I didn't post. Don't worry about it.
Is this like a 10-minute cold open, or what?
I like it.
Just
Okay.
Supercut a YouTube poop.
Okay.
Yeah, remember you gotta reverse my voice to withdraw my statement.
I'm not gonna do that.
What's easier, playing one Steven's voice clip in reverse or editing a 10-minute intro?
I'll just let it ride.
You sound like Butch Hartman right now.
I'll just let it ride, Hart fans.
With the entire O-Axis situation, you're not wrong. And I heard something about him making a new children's cartoon.
I thought you were gonna say I heard something about him making a new child. He's like, hey Hart fans, I'm fucking my wife tonight.
The really funny thing about that was, and it happened like I think late last year or maybe mid last year, was the O-Axis channel, their last update, which was like in July of 2019, was to say that our creator, Butch Hartman's working on a new children's show, not related to O-Axis.
Right,
And no other updates about O-Axis in the last year.
exactly.
That's for the best.
Yeah, he's like selling, God, what was it? He's asking for money for the children's show, and it's like 100 something for like a donation.
$100.
He
just needs to get through the week.
He got like so much money from his request, and it's been a few years now. But I think the really big thing to take away from all this is if you make your completion goal far enough away, everybody will forget about it.
In all honesty, once the meme is dead, it's dead.
It's like, I spent my $5 on Butch Hartman. That was a few years ago. I don't care anymore.
Yeah. I follow this one dude who did all the like animations that he made popular on his channel, like the anime intro for Fairly Odd Parents and all the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Ones that he still shares on his TikTok on a daily basis, I've learned. And the other day, well, not the other day, a couple weeks back, that same fellow posted on his personal YouTube channel about it. And
I think I saw that video, but go ahead.
yeah, he posted a video about his experience working for Hartman on the project Elf Detective, which I remember very explicitly him trying to plug because he was into One Punch Man. And he wanted to make an anime-inspired cartoon, and it was going to be something called Elf Detective, which is just like a film noir with an anime-inspired art style about mystical...
Elf.
mythical creatures living alongside humans, and you have the whole race divide and all that shit. It's not something that is like a doomed from the start. I could actually get into it, but nonetheless, the fellow I'm talking about did the character designs, and he was working on animating that show, or at least coming up with the rough animation for like a pilot. And nonetheless, Butch Hartman basically screwed him out of $1,400 because he was supposed to do a full episode pilot for $1,400, which is absolutely ridiculous for an animator. And nonetheless, he got screwed out of it because Butch Hartman told him to cease production after the O-Axis debacle, and he realized that he wasn't gonna fucking go through with Imaginathan or Elf Detective, and he was gonna instead go to make more children's shows for other networks.
That is so shitty. Butch Hartman's been in this thing for over 2 decades. He should know a thing or two about the animation industry.
This is the same guy who thinks critics are pathetic, essentially.
Well, that's true. I mean, just look at that one on the TV. I am gesturing to the nostalgia critic.
Okay, look, sometimes Butch Hartman is right, but there is a certain critic who...
Maybe that's the only critic he knows.
That's the only one he watches.
Has the nostalgia critic done Abracatastrophe?
When is Butch Hartman gonna do a live reaction to Suburban Nights?
When is Butch Hartman gonna have his corpse puppeted on a nostalgia critic episode like Don Bluth?
He hasn't reached that age yet.
Oh, he has.
I mean,
his body can't take it.
I mean, you're not wrong. He does look dead inside. Oh, also, friggin', he had the Odd Ones Out on a recent video.
I saw that. I was gonna share that. I forgot.
Oh, if you remember, go ahead. But
no, I haven't seen it. I just meant to share the video. I haven't watched it yet.
Let's see. They were basically just talking about online animation and all that shit. And Butch Hartman had no fucking idea what he was talking about. And it was formatted so it was Butch Hartman on one side and Odd Ones Out. They were webcamming, and all.
So it's his real face.
Yeah. So you just look at Odd Ones Out, and he's just going. He looks so uncomfortable because he wants to correct him, but he doesn't.
No.
It's so fucking funny. But
Odd Ones Out.
At last, we can start the episode.
Alright.
When he said, like, puppeting him like a corpse, and Steven was like, oh yeah, I thought he was gonna say, our episode today is about CreepyPasta, but no, we talked about the Odd Ones Out.
Speaking about cursed things, let's talk about some creepypastas, guys.
Right. So today's episode is CreepyPasta, Part 2.
Woo!
If you haven't seen Part 1, don't worry, it's irrelevant. We're just gonna read some more stories.
It's true. I had one, I believe our last creepypasta episode, I had one that I wanted to finish, but I decided to just go with a new one. I'll probably save that one for a different time, maybe during Halloween month.
A lot of these are really short. I have a couple short ones and then one long one picked out.
So
we haven't even set the mood yet, you guys. I can still see, and I don't like that one bit.
True. Everyone dim your screens to 0%, and then download screen dark so you can just turn off the backlight completely so you can't read.
And then download Flux and turn your screen full yellow.
Just turn the fucking...
It's like a candlelight.
Just crank that G slider all the way down.
I had one of my freaking... My screens are already super tinted because I downloaded Flux and used it for my work or whatever. I was watching one of my coworkers' tutorials and he also had Flux installed on like full yellow. So it like double yellow tinted my screen and I was just reading in like neon yellow.
Oh god.
That's awful.
Christ. I have my phone and my tablet both have blue light filter things built in. I'd use Flux on my computer, but like color's like important for my work, so I just don't.
Right, that's what I assume.
Yeah.
Welcome to CreepyPasta. Ooh.
Yep.
I am so scared of Doug Walker.
After 4th of July, the fireworks blew out all of our lights. So now, it's dark.
Fireworks killed all of us.
Yep.
And now we're ghouls. Continuing this show no matter what. No matter how many times we die.
The firework monster blew out all the electricity in town.
I was shot by a police officer.
The Roman candle.
Yeah, the fucking... It wasn't the Onion, it was the other one. The Hard Drive.
Was it?
I think so. They stole our joke about officers using Roman candles. And I can't believe it.
Riot officers using Roman candles during the protests.
Yeah.
That's funny. One of our friends who's written some for the hard drive is doing some stuff right now. I hope that we get to talk about that one day.
Who's that?
Yeah.
Walker is working to potentially work for Polygon.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's awesome.
Should be very cool.
Congratulations to Walker.
He writes some great articles on the Hard Times.
That's good.
Or the Hard Drive, rather, which is sort of like their tech and video game offshoot.
If you're listening to this, Walker, we didn't forget about you.
We hope you don't forget about us, huh?
Once you make it
Give us a
big.
shout out, eh?
Come on, buddy.
Please.
Please, get us in with Polygon. I know the McElroys don't work there anymore, but please. I know they're the only ones I know and care about, but please.
Did you ask Polygon where they went?
They finally got Monster Factory out of there.
I still watch Polygon.
Who's your
Sometimes.
favorite Polygoner?
Polygoner.
I don't know anyone's name.
That's your favorite
Honestly.
Polygon, the trapezius?
I don't.
I like
The
I
only
like
one
the
I
Uns-
remember was Nick, and he was problematic
I like the Unraveled series. I like
because he did something with sexual allegations.
who Nick at Polygon.
Yeah.
Wow, fireworks.
Nah, but see, that's what took us out earlier.
The fact that they're still shooting off fireworks on July the 7th in a gated community.
God bless America.
The Hard Drive is very funny. I like the Dragon Quest reviews from Polygon. They're like extremely long-winded and really interesting.
Right.
They're by this one guy who loves Dragon Quest sincerely, so I'd recommend watching those if you like Dragon Quest.
Do you remember Polaris?
Yes, Dodger is still cool, and everybody else can die.
Does Polaris still exist? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think a lot of those guys have done their... Actually,
I thought for a long time they were the same thing. Polaris and Polygon.
Same, honestly. Like, I remember the name now that you mention it. It's just...
Yeah,
freaking
I remember
haven't
like
heard it in a
Game
while.
Grumps were doing things with them for a little bit or something.
That's right.
Dodger, if you're listening, we still remember you. We still care about you.
I still follow Dodger on Twitter.
Daughter.
Daughter.
I wish Dodger was my daughter. Is that what you said?
Yes. I looked up Polaris on YouTube, and I don't see anything, so I guess they're dead.
Oh no.
Yeah, some video game. Polaris Masochist.
Let's see, look up Machinima, see what they're up to right now.
Machinima is very dead.
Yeah, Machinima rebranded, so they're just Death Battle now.
So they're just Freeman's Mind.
No, that was College Humor.
What?
Wasn't it College
No.
Humor?
You're thinking of Screw Attack.
Screw Attack.
Screw Attack, that's right. Okay.
Screw Attack.
I was about to say, Machinima's around, they're just shit.
Oh.
Oh, are there?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It's time for a death battle.
Time for a death battle, and now they're, like, actually animated and have characters instead of just being voices.
Dr. whatever and Squeezy Jib.
Dr.
Yeah.
Octagonopus, blah.
We haven't forgot about you.
I haven't forgotten about Dr. Octagonopus. I love that compilation.
Steven, what's the scariest YouTube poop you've ever seen?
The scariest. Oh yeah, there was one. Oh god, this is... Okay,
Was it the one
so-
Elias sent about Arthur the other day?
Oh, it's worse. It's worse. This is like one that like got taken off of YouTube like repeatedly in 2011. Is fucking okay. So in 2011, there was a YouTube poop called Robotnik Takes a Shit, and it starts out very, very on the nose. Robotnik comes into the door. He kicks the door open, and then he walks in, his chest puffed out. And then he walks up to Scratch and Grounder, and he goes, "I'm gonna take a shit, and you two are gonna watch me."
And then he did.
It's true. The fucking rest of the video is an actual recorded camcorder looking up in a toilet at an ass pressing itself onto the toilet and taking a shit. And I cannot find it. It got taken down like twice, and then it's never fucking resurfaced.
That's horrifying.
I'm sorry for your artist friends who can't see that because you want to show it to them so bad.
I would! Holy shit, that's like the most cryptid thing
Do you
I've
want
ever
to show
seen.
Palo an ass shitting? He's gonna go, "Ay!" Palo, if you're listening, we haven't forgot about you, buddy.
Palo, I don't really have time for that guy anymore.
Oh my god.
I'm pretending to blow my fingernails.
But I remember I went on Reddit to see if maybe fucking somebody had archived it, but I just could not find anything. It's very upsetting. Oh
Sad.
my god.
the most cryptid YouTube poop I've ever seen.
The Arthur one.
I mean, there's plenty of them that are just like white noise. Maybe the
That's
one
true.
that I made, which is just war flashbacks from Saved by the Bell.
What about Rape Ape?
Oh god. We're friggin' looked up.
It's like the one and only Grape Ape YouTube poop. It's the easiest joke in the business. And everything about it is just like they just cut out the G from what he says, and
They
it's
don't
just
even
like
cut it out. It's just
Oh,
the
yeah,
way
that's true.
the way he pronounces it just
Rape
sounds like
Ape,
rape.
Rape Ape. And all they do for quote unquote editing is like flip the screen around and invert colors, and it's shitty.
They literally just upload an entire episode, and occasionally there's a fucking warp filter. I remember we
so
sat.
bad.
It was like 16 minutes or some shit. We just sat there waiting for something to happen.
We like watched that on my fucking PS3 in an RV.
No, we watched that in like the living room.
Was it in the RV?
Yeah, it was
I could have sworn that was in the RV.
We have our own CreepyPasta canon from Joey's World Tour.
We're working on that. That's a secret.
Yeah, it's okay. That's not ready yet. The lore hasn't been established entirely.
Okay.
But Joey and
Buckle your
himself is a cryptid.
seatbelts. Joey, if you're listening, I'd like to forget about you.
Oh, that reminds me. Friggin', I was...
Fucking right wing.
One of my friends had never seen a Joey before. A Joey video.
Your eyes lit up with
Did you show him the
excitement.
classic Nadella?
He privated most of his challenge videos, so all of them are like re-uploads now.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's crazy. I guess his comment section just finally got so ridiculous he had to stop. But yeah, friggin' I looked at the playlist, I went on his channel to find all the challenge videos, and only 2 of them weren't privated.
Oh no.
The Nutella one, because that's just too popular, and then like one other one that was innocuous, but I had to find the rest through re-uploads. But it's upsetting too, because like there's also recipe ones that he did.
No.
Like, I don't know if the chili one is still up or not, where he has 5 ingredients that are impossible to forget, but then he has to take out a piece of paper where he wrote down the ingredients.
That's a classic.
That is classic.
My favorite challenge is the hot chip one where he does the milk and whipped cream in his mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Like the sardines.
Yeah.
It's like everything.
Oh
to
no,
cool
that
his
was
mouth down.
Yeah, that was when he actually ate a dried Reaper.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the hot pepper one was just where he spat into a towel and made a mess on his shirt.
Oh, we should have went to Five Below to see if they had the Carolina Reaper Jelly Bellies.
Oh, true. Shit. It's okay. It's okay. The night is young.
Please edit out everything I said about Polygon and
Are you afraid you're gonna burn your bridge?
retcon.
Reverse the
No,
audio.
I wanted to clarify that Walker was submitting an application. I 100% believe that he'll get it, but I just wanted to shout that out. I mainly wanted to talk about the hard drive, which I think is very funny as a website. It's like The Onion, but more topical and about tech and video games.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see. Who wants to get kicked off in our creepy creepster night?
I've got mine pulled up.
Alright, you want to go?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Okay.
Write it down. Just let me sacrifice something to the Midnight Society.
Watch it burn in the fire. Yeah, call forth the meeting of the Midnight Society.
Alright, let's see. I call forth the meeting of the Midnight Society.
Do you have an ounce of creativity in your head?
It's been a while since I've watched that show. I'm sorry.
Just say something ghastly and ghoulish.
The tale of Eric Abramov, and how he lost his foot to diabetes.
That's mean.
It's scary.
It's scary.
You wouldn't want that to happen to you.
I'm scared. I don't want Eric Abramov to take my foot.
He haunts us to this very day. You're gonna hear him. Where is my foot? Eric Abramov, please do an audiobook of the scary stories to tell in the dark novel, please.
Stop talking to Eric Abramov.
Eric
What if
Abramov.
we
He's
get
not
Eric
real.
Abramov on the show?
Say his name 3 times right now.
Eric Abramoff, Eric Abramoff, Eric Abramoff.
Now he's real. Look him up.
No!
You.
Before you said that, there would have been 0 results. But now...
You just hear a creak in your office in gamer chairs. He's near.
A very loud creak.
You're suddenly missing 16 ounces of orange juice in a glass.
If you want to hear more of Eric Abramoff, tune into our last episode, 4th of July. He's in there. He's a special guest. Fantastic. Great. Okay, I'm going to start reading now.
Go.
To tell you the truth, my whole experience with this game started after a simple trip around eBay. My name is Matthew, and my gaming experience I can never forget. It was late, about 8 p.m. on a Sunday, and I was looking on eBay for something, but I can't recall what it was because of what I found soon after that. In the items recommended for you section, I saw something that looked like a disc. I thought it was pretty interesting, so I checked it out. Crash Bandicoot 5, the title said.
Holy shit.
The description said it still worked, despite a few minor scratches. I almost died of happiness after that. My first game was the original Crash Bandicoot for the PS1, and I've been playing since I've been 5. I rushed into the other room panting, asking my dad to buy it for me. He stared at me like I was some kind of maniac, but he shrugged it off and gave me the okay. Yeah, panting. Dad! Crash Bandicoot's real!
Dad, Bandicoot 5, Dad!
Daddy! Jokes on him. That's in Japan, they literally call Wrath of the Cortex Crash 4 and Twin Sanity Crash 5, so he just bought a Japanese game that he can't play.
Didn't work, it just made strange sounds.
Region lock, now that's fucking scary.
Nothing scarier than a game that doesn't work. Let's see. He went to the computer, checked out, and paid for the item. I was pretty sure I was going to be able to wait for the game to come. He told me to get ready for bed since it was a school night. So why not? Since the game would come faster, so I just went to bed. Next morning, I woke up, got ready, and rushed out the door. All throughout the day, all I could think of that game... What was the music like? Who were the bosses? What are the levels? That was my one focus during the day. When I got home, I slopped through my schoolwork, scarfed down a snack, and went to hone my skills playing Crash 2 and 3. About a week later, like game came in a little box on my doorstep. I almost screamed with excitement. I didn't even care that I was hungry or that I had schoolwork to do. I jammed the power cord of my PS2 into the outlet and put in the game. It said Naughty Dog, Universal, and stuff that a Crash game usually says. Then the title screen pops up. It of course says Crash 5 on the top of the screen in yellow letters and Press Start on the bottom. It was a black screen with Crash floating on a platform in the middle. Of course, I pressed Start. I selected a new save file and started to play the game. It started off with Aku Aku telling me how Cortex is up to no good and how he has to save the world again. Crash looked absolutely depressed, to say the least, after that, and he reluctantly sprinted out the door.
Uh-oh.
The warp room looked similar to the third game, beginning with regular 5 warp rooms, with 5 levels in each in a boss. I went into the first level, which was named Jungle Journey. The level was great, and so was the music. It was amazing, and the game controlled like butter. I finished the level in about a minute, and grabbed something that resembled a power crystal, but it was a dark shade of black. Maybe these are what I'm after in the game, I told myself.
Dude, Dark Super Crash.
Black crystals.
Black Crash. The level was really fun, but there was one little thing that caught my attention. I remember I did a bad jump over a pit or something and fell in. I knew I heard a faint crunching noise, but I just passed it off as normal. I remember one really tough level. It was an ice level with quick and tricky jumps with nitro spread out on the platforms. I quickly lost my supply of 25 lives in a few minutes.
Damn.
Jesus Christ, the fucking difficulty ran right the hell up, huh? This kid just fucking sucks.
It's possible. The game over screen popped up and I jammed the start button to continue playing.
I beat the tutorial level in like 30 seconds. I was real proud of myself, but then the game started.
I wasn't prepared for the challenge.
The first level was one of those boulder runaway levels, and it was just so hard.
I was pissed.
The game did this funny thing where it gave me 25 lives and then I lost all of them.
But then every time I died, I lost 5.
Holy shit.
The game said I was doing so bad I deserved to lose more lives.
That was scary.
The game said my full name.
It says, Eric Abramov, you suck.
I said, it's a piece of fucking shit! A little bit into the game, this is where things started turning pretty ugly. Well, in some levels it popped up here and there, but only if the level was very challenging. The first time it got really bad, it was a fight with Dingodile in the second world where my hand slipped from the sweat in my palms and I failed to dodge a burst of flame shot from the pack on the boss's back. Crash let out a blood-curdling scream and ran around in a panic until you could clearly see his flesh and muscles singed off.
Oh my god.
Bone.
Crash's blood-curdling scream. Another time is whenever I was exploded by a TNT or nitro, Crash yelled and a red splash of guts covered my screen. Whereas another time, Crash was hit by a sledgehammer and his whole body splattered from the top up. But despite the fact, I really couldn't stop playing. The levels were great and the music was the best I've ever heard from a video game. The gruesome deaths actually compelled me to do better in the levels. I collected all the crystals and all of the gems because of me desperately trying to avoid losing a life. After I've done everything I needed to do, my only task I haven't achieved yet was defeating Neo Cortex. The fight took place in a long hall in space, and Cortex was piloting some kind of machine which resembled a steamroller, but more evil looking with 2 spiked rollers stacked on top of each other. What?
There's the image of fucking Cortex fucking driving a steamroller like the most cartoony way.
Before he was on the steamroller, I just imagined him at the end of a really long, dark hallway.
Standing there, this big head silhouette.
Yeah, like 2 feet tall.
Crash, I've decided to take matters into my own hands.
So far away, you can barely hear him.
Crash, I've decided to take matters into my own hands.
It's like, what?
Why must you always muck in my mud?
You're such a big mouth, you would have thought it'd be louder.
Uka Uka's possessed him to do evil things. I was terrified at this sight, and I knew I just couldn't die. For me, for Crash. I ran as fast as I can, dodging walls and other stuff trying to make Crash's trip and get gouged with those spiky rollers. I dodged everything like a master, knowing there would be some kind of button or something that would wreck Cortex's machine. I had a feeling I was just about there, but one thing happened. A wall. Crash slammed into a wall and a death animation occurred. It was awfully long, but awfully gruesome too.
He ran into a wall on his feet so fast that he died instantly?
Christ.
I'm guessing it's like one of the bowler levels where you're running forward.
I see.
So let's see. It showed Crash, dizzy after hitting the wall, but quickly coming to his senses after, and looked behind him in absolute shock. He tried sprinting to avoid his demise, but he quickly fell to his feet. I just about fainted at this point. The machine swallowed Crash up. He let out the worst, most agonizing scream that ever hit my ears. The rollers grinded and crashed into bits, with fur, bones, and blood everywhere. I respawned at the beginning, and to my surprise, the corpse was still inside the Cortex's rollers. I sprinted as fast as possible and avoided every single damn obstacle I could. At the end, I made it to a button. Crash stomped on it and the machine blew into bits. Cortex blasted into the distance, yelling threats like, "Curse you!" and "I'll get you next time." And the screen cut to black.
He said something that I didn't understand, but Crash's face said another story.
Crash looked really sad.
Crash arched his brows and looked surprisingly more offended than I expected.
Some credits started to roll after I won. It showed a few Naughty Dog workers, but the point that got me the most was the part I saw next. In bold letters, the credits showed murderers. It listed some people's names at the bottom of the screen. Everyone who killed Crash. Everyone who made him suffer. I saw my name in there along with my brother and some friends.
It did say his full name.
They really got a knack for these things.
Hell yeah.
After the credits finished, I ended up, in the warp room in the not in
real life.
I don't. Maybe I don't know. It's possible.
Oh my God.
We'll think with either or right now. In the center was a huge black gem. I jumped onto it knowing it would take me to a new area. It was a dark passage with one portal at the at the end labeled, The Room.
Like in Sharpie on the portal? Or?
I guess. It was just a dark hallway, but on the sides of the carpets were all dead Crashes. Singed ones cut in half, shattered ones, exploded ones. It was terrifying to see. The level progressed normally with a few points where there were buttons which you needed to spin dead Crashes at for a bridge to drop down. It's like Crash spinning a corpse of himself.
How would you complete that level if there were no dead Crashes?
That's how you unlock the black gem.
I see. Gotta have a bunch of dead Crashes laying around.
Needed Bandicoot souls.
Whenever I had to hit one, Crash looked mortified. There was about 10 of these areas, and I got to the last one with a huge button in the middle. I looked left and I looked right. I even scouted out everything behind me. No Crashes. I walked up to the front of the last pit area, thinking of what to do, and suddenly Crash turned around. Why, Matthew? Why do you have to keep reminding me of my curse? Crash staggered.
Oh my God.
What curse? I spoke in shock, back in shock. I couldn't believe what I was hearing anymore. I can't die. I never can.
Wow, Crash, that sucks, but it's time for level 2, unfortunately.
I paid a lot of money for this game.
My dad paid a lot of money for this game.
Crash, the X button makes you jump and not whine like a little bitch. Now let's go.
But every day, players kill me over and over, and I have to suffer every time. And when it's finally time for me to stop my suffering, they select continue.
Damn.
All my life is endless suffering. Do you know how it feels? Every day, getting murdered by countless people just trying to be amused. Are you amused now? Huh? Huh? Knowing that a being is eternally suffering for your entertainment? No, Crash, I responded. I was almost in tears knowing my favorite character had to suffer like this his whole life. Matthew, do you care about me? Crash asked. Of course I do, Crash, I stated.
I fucking love Crash Bandicoot.
I'm about to do something now, and I need you to do something for me. Yes? I questioned him. Wonder what his next action was. Don't press continue. I no longer could control Crash. His next action was him diving into the pit in front of him, but this time it was different. No screams, crunches, or agony, just a sigh of relief. I was treated to the game over menu after that. I pressed game over.
No, that's how he escapes.
My PS2 then shut off, and I picked up the disc out of the slot. I looked at the back, some light shined on the back, and I saw scratches etched into the back. They were letters. Thank you. And that's the end.
God, that got somber towards the end, man. Jesus Christ. I give that 6 out of 7 dark crystals.
Ooh. I gotta think about that.
I give it 2 solemn crashes looking at the camera out of 3.
I give that 10 heart-to-hearts from Crash to every person who's played that game.
Named Matthew.
They immediately say, okay, Crash, and then sell it on eBay again.
Murderers. Me, my brother, and some friends.
They say, well, I can't play anymore, so I guess it's gone on eBay.
I give that an ever-expanding memory size on the disc to account for more names on the credits list.
Account for Crash's actual real-life memory.
Crash's horrible, horrible memories.
Let's see. I can go up next if you'd like.
Do it to it, big ol' blew it.
Alright, let's see here.
Hit us with that coochie mama.
Alright. We all know about the 1997 series King of the Hill.
Mm-hmm.
It is still airing on Cartoon Network's Adult Swim block. God, that dates this.
I'm sure it still is.
Yeah, maybe. But I encountered something dark with this series sometime in late 2007. I was in a Goodwill store buying some Nintendo 64 games, because that store normally had some good stock of retro games. However, I strolled over to the VHS section in the back, just then remembering that I owned a VCR. Ooh. One of the first things I saw was the Titanic VHS tape.
That's a staple for Goodwills everywhere.
Yeah. The one that came in 2 tapes but was in 1 dusty cover. I thought that would be a good movie for me and my wife, as she had never seen it before.
His wife.
Damn, he's tied down.
Poor guy.
To ensure he has to shop in Goodwill for shit.
My wife only gives me Goodwill allowance.
My wife only gives me Goodwill, and I have to use it somewhere.
My wife only gives me money in Goodwill gift cards.
Goodwill return receipts.
I thought it would be a good movie for me and my wife, as she had never seen it before. To ensure that the tapes would be functional, I took one of the tapes out of the dual VHS dust cover, only to see something unexpected. It was a VHS tape with a crooked sticker on it. Written in Sharpie was KOTH-S1E1NR. I inspected the other tape, and it said KOTH-S1E1NRP2. I assumed it was part 2. I did not know why one 22 to 23 minute episode took 2 VHS tapes, but I was curious.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's a good point.
There's like an inch of tape in between them.
Yeah. I bought the 2 tapes for $2.22.
Nice.
When I got home, nobody was there but me. Therefore, I had to take up the painstaking process of uncoiling the stiff coax cables in the bulky VCR.
His wife couldn't do it for him.
She got out of there as soon as he got home.
I soon tuned the TV to channel 3 and began viewing KOTH-S1E1NR.
He said, thankfully, as soon as I got home, my wife left me, so I could begin watching my VHS tapes.
I saw the ring on the table. I knew what it was about.
It had the regular opening of the first episode of King of the Hill, but without the music.
Oh, that's a bad sign.
That sounds funny.
A silent King of the Hill, then moving at Mach 2.
Sounds like a busted tape.
I had forgotten to put on one of the AV cables.
I forgot to plug in red and white.
I didn't completely screw in the coax correctly, so it was jittering.
I decided to watch it anyways without audio.
You know, that's a good point. You could make a friggin' cryptid video out of a VHS tape just by fucking with the coax cable.
Yep.
Let's see. It was just a silent camera panning over the city of Arlen. It began normally after that, with Bobby at the baseball game and Hank yelling at him. As we all know, Bobby did not succeed.
That's true.
What a good first episode when Bobby had no personality yet.
Yeah. This is where everything started getting weird. On the ride home, Hank, Peggy, and Bobby were completely silent, and this went on for about 3 minutes.
Plug in your audio cable.
No one was angry. No one had any expression, actually. Abruptly, as a family pulls into the driveway, it cut to a scene inside the house. Hank was yelling at Bobby for not giving the 110%. Hank then picked up the baseball and got into a throwing position.
Oh no! He's gonna peg Bobby.
He's gonna peg Peggy. That's why he calls her that.
At this point, the video quality was getting very scraggly.
His cable became all the more looser.
The volume level was raised roughly 10%.
He did the math.
Hank pegged the ball and it hit Bobby's nose.
Oh no!
Loser! You're a loser!
Stop bouncing that ball!
No music, just
10% volume. Peggy was seen in the background crying, and Hank simply told her to shut the hell up. Bobby immediately cupped his nose and ran out of the room, crying the whole way.
I imagine just one frame and Bobby's face is broken.
This is something Durham Rockers could have made. As Bobby was in the bathroom checking his nose, a social worker came to the door.
That quickly, huh?
Holy shit.
Heard the sound of Hank beating his son.
You heard the sound of Bobby's nose cracking.
Bill's a fucking narc. Let's see.
I'll get you out of there, Bobby.
Peggy greeted him as Hank sat on the sofa, relaxing as if nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
Well, what did happen?
From this point, the colors began to look more like the real episode. The scene with Hank telling the social worker off played as it did in the real episode. Suddenly, the scene from the officially aired episode cut to another scene, which was not from the real episode. It was a scene with more ragged video, yet the audio remained the same. The scene depicted Peggy sitting on the phone late at night, most likely contacting child services to tell them about how Hank purposefully threw the baseball at Bobby.
Damn.
Hank suddenly walked through the doorway. He was in a bathrobe and had no glasses. He grabbed the phone. "Who the hell is this?" Hank yelled. This was the Department of Child Services, was the response. Hank's face quickly turned red, and he slammed the phone back on the wall. He grasped Peggy by the neck.
Oh no.
"You gonna get more of those twig boys over here to put me in prison and take my boy away?" he howled. The scene cut to Hank, taking Peggy by the back of the neck down the hallway to the backyard.
Holy shit.
Outside?
Oh no! Hank took a propane tank off the grill and shoved the valve into Peggy's mouth.
Oh my god.
The video went silent for a minute, simply showing the propane valve in Peggy's mouth. When the scene started moving again, Peggy's eyes slowly closed and a voice was heard. "Buck Strickland, forgive me for using propane for this."
He will.
The only problem was that when Hank said this, Hank did not even sound like Mike Judge, the creator of the show
no.
who voiced Hank. It sounded like an older, deeper voice. The screen went black after this.
This is like someone's personal VHS YouTube poop they made.
Yeah.
That was all they could do back in the day. Splice footage. That's why it's on 2 tapes. They cut it up so much.
Yeah, they had to fill in all the extra tape.
I fast forwarded through the rest of the tape to make sure there was no more content on it. There was none. I just thought to myself,
Why so much wasted space?
That's a good
That's
question.
what you think after that?
It's a good going gag.
Why did he need 2 tapes if he's got so much extra space?
And at this point, I was really shaken up. I went to grab a coffee. When I got back, I popped in the second
security blanket.
tape. When I got back, I popped in the second tape. It was just a black screen. I just fast forwarded to check for content and eventually came across some stuff that was really starting to scare me. It was a funeral, but there was very few colors. There was only various forms of gray and black, and the colors of people's faces. It just didn't seem like a real King of the Hill episode. The funeral was for Peggy. Attending it was all of the Hill's neighbors.
On the first episode?
Attending it was all of the Hill's neighbors, including some acquaintances such as Cotton and John Redcorn. Even Hank was there, claiming that Peggy had committed suicide.
Claiming.
Jesus. As Peggy's coffin was lowered into the hole, it faded into an overhead view of it being lowered. This really scared the shit out of me.
How tasteless do you have to be to go to this person's funeral to continue to push your prerogative?
Jesus Christ.
By the way, I'd just like to say, definitely a suicide. Thank you.
It was his wife.
She
It would be
told-
suspicious if he wasn't there.
She told me so.
She said, Hank, I'm gonna kill myself. And I said, don't you do it! But she did it.
I said, alright. Go ahead.
Said, well, Buck Strickland wouldn't like that, but if you say so, I'll talk to Buck and see what he thinks.
I'll ask Buck's permission.
And she said, Buck, Buck, Buck. All you talk about is Buck. I was like, yeah?
And I said, if you don't watch it, you're gonna end up killing yourself.
You'll do it. Not me.
You'll really do it.
Funny thing about them propane tanks, they always find a way of getting into specific people's mouths.
I would never put a propane tank near my mouth, no matter how tantalizing the contents inside may be.
Hank's just talking to himself on the podium at the funeral.
Incriminating himself.
I'd like to say a few words about Philip Banks.
This part really scared the shit out of me. It was a somewhat highly realistic image of Peggy in the coffin. The reason I say somewhat is because it looked real, but it still appeared to be drawn and not a real person. It was just a realistic cartoon. The scene then cut to Bobby, Hank, and Ladybird sitting on a porch. Bobby had a queasy face, and Hank had one hand on the propane tank they used to commit the murder.
He's proud of that thing.
Bobby turned to his father. Why did you do it, Dad? He asked in a humble voice.
Humble?
Wow, Dad.
How is that humble?
He's just a meager man asking for a reason.
I don't know, son, Hank responded. He almost sounded like he was crying. I don't know, son. He then stood up and walked inside, leaving Bobby and Ladybird, who were still on the porch. It once again cut to a very dull scene with nothing but black, gray, and skin colors. It was a scene that literally made me sick to my stomach. It was Hank hanging from the ceiling with a note pinned on him. It just stayed focused on him swinging back and forth for 2 minutes or so. It then cut to the ending credits with the normal outro and theme music.
That sounds so bad.
Now that's a
It's 2
YouTube
minutes
poop.
of swinging and then...
I would jump so hard if I watched 2 minutes of silence into that.
Oh my god.
What was the little gag they put on at the end there? You know how they always take a cutout from the show?
Oh,
Like,
I don't know, son.
Yeah.
No, it didn't be.
Like they always-
Shut the hell up!
It'd just be like 1 second audio clip of Bobby getting hit in the face with a baseball.
It was that. I was actually kind of laughing on the inside at the fact the show's playing the ending credits after all that stuff happened. This guy's cool.
They must have been proud of this.
It's the real story. He's treating it like a real story.
Of course it's real. They're all real.
I was really more confused and creeped out at it, though. I went on some forums, but found nothing about this episode. However, I came across someone on Yahoo Answers who had a similar occurrence as me. They received a similar tape at a thrift shop in Johns Creek County in North Georgia, a place about 20 miles from where I got mine. I managed to get on AIM with this person, but I got no answers. I was really curious at this point, so I drove 40 miles and went right down to Cartoon Network Turner Broadcasting headquarters. I knew that Fox Broadcasting made the show, but I assumed Cartoon Network had every episode on record, as they aired them all. Beforehand, I did some research and figured out who was in charge of broadcasting King of the Hill, so I found a receptionist in the studio and demanded to talk to him. Apparently, though, I needed a guest pass of some sort. I was just trying to storm a fucking studio.
Anybody would. I need answers, damn it.
I was completely pissed off at this point, so I drove back home and put on my old sheriff's uniform. I was a sheriff for Johns Creek County about 3 years ago.
Just good old sheriff sitting home watching King of the Hill.
Yeah, it's like the Donut Lord from the Sonic movie. It's time for me to abuse the power entrusted to me.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. I went back, and although it's unlawful, I used my badge to talk to him.
It was necessary, trust me.
That episode freaked me out, man. I had to. When I got into his office, he was just sitting at his desk talking on his phone. I walked up to him, threw the tapes on his desk, and demanded answers.
What the fuck's this shit? You trying to air this? You kidding me? I did laugh at the end scene, though.
That was a good cut.
I can't lie.
You can keep that part. That one's really funny. He dropped the phone immediately and grabbed the tapes. I followed him to another office on the other side of the building. There's a small safe in his office. He opened it up, put the tapes in, and locked it.
And proceeded to kill me.
He then...
Hey, what the fuck? Those are my tapes!
He then told me to leave. Telling an officer of the law to get out after taking fucking property from him. I did not want to act like a sheriff anymore because I did not want to get in trouble with the law, so I left. I got home and flipped on the TV. Adult Swim was on, and I was relieved to see a real episode of King of the Hill. To this day, there are only 2 copies of this episode on 4 tapes that I can find anything about on the internet. One of them, I assume, is still locked up in Cartoon Network studios. You may possibly come across more of them in thrift shops throughout the Southeast. The end.
Whoa.
Can I just say I miss going to thrift shops so much. This dang coronavirus is keeping me away from all the goods. They're there. And I'm gonna find them.
It's okay. Once quarantine is over and they put them all through the car wash, we'll be good.
I'm sure everything in thrift shops will be cleaned while we're gone.
I'm sure everything in a thrift shop is clean.
Not just left to rot internally forever.
It's okay. They have
$1 a dollar.
They have a new system in place. It's like the fire extinguishers on the roof, but it's sanitizer.
Everything just gets damp and moldy.
Just because, like, the one I'm thinking about has like a lot of outside access. So just imagining, like, and there's a lot of natural sunlight that gets in. So everything just getting sun bleached and moldy and stinky.
Great.
I rate that story 2 minutes of swinging out of 2.
I rate that story Donut Lord from the Sonic movie watching King of the Hill on his couch.
Eating popcorn and laughing.
Yeah. I love King of the Hill.
I love it for...
Wait a second. Don't do that.
Donut Lord is... Donut looks such a stoic and wholesome character. I love imagining him doing shit like that.
Maybe you should get in contact with the actor that plays Donut Lord. You have that kind of pool.
It's true. I'll DM him, ask him if he likes Donut Lord porn.
I'll say no, but thanks for the offer.
No, but don't message me again.
He just blocks you.
I give that 1 broken nose out of 1.
That's pretty good. Pretty high marks.
Indeed. Alright, Elias, take us home.
Okay.
Give us the good, if you know what I mean.
This is a pretty short one.
If you know what I mean.
Last week, on a wet and windy night, with no motivation to finish my college assignments, I began to peruse the internet as a way to procrastinate, as we all often do.
True.
Having completed Sonic the Hedgehog on an emulator a few hours earlier,
Whoa.
I was in a nostalgic mood. After searching YouTube...
That's hard.
Yeah. After searching YouTube for old Sega Genesis commercials, my fingers still lingered on the mouse. I kept clicking on the suggested videos and reliving old memories from my childhood. I felt a comfort one only gets from seeing things you never really knew had such an influence on you when you were younger and innocent. Soon, I was lost reveling in such classics as Melts in Your Mouth, Not in Your Hand, Who Loves Orange Soda, No Soup for You,
I love orange soda.
How You Doing, Come With Me If You Want to Live, The Truth Is Out There.
I especially like the one commercial where Dr. Robotnik gets electrocuted by an ice cream bar. Now that was funny.
I like the one commercial where the M&Ms are walking around and then they see Santa Claus and he goes, "He does exist!" And Santa Claus goes, "They do exist!" And they all fall over and Yellow goes,
Every
Santa?
time
They play it every year for the past 3 decades.
Every time they play that video, they then screen capture, save it, and play it again the following year, so it gets bit crushed more and more.
I can't believe that the friggin' Hershey Kiss like bell thing. I can't believe that's like a late 80s commercial. That's crazy.
Yep.
It's a classic.
It is.
Sorry to derail.
And of course, what's up?
Yeah, baby.
I only realized that I'd lost track of time when I tried to find my phone in what was now a pitch dark room. Checking the time on my computer, I was shocked to find it was already 2 a.m.
Jesus.
I resolved to go to bed as I had class in the morning, but couldn't resist watching one last video, just to round off the night.
Now that's relatable.
Scanning through the suggestions, I was disappointed to find that I had watched them all.
Every
video on YouTube. Except for one video at the very bottom of my suggested entitled, Bill Cosby Sells His Soul for Pudding.
YouTube poop?
Hell yeah.
Sounds like one.
Click it.
It's just this guy describing a real YTP you watched.
That's what the last one was.
Yeah.
It was just on tape.
I wonder if it can ever beat Cosby the Hedgehog, which is just a fucking Cosby noise remix of the Sonic the Hedgehog intro. Zip zap zoom zip zap go.
Thank you.
Although I had a vague idea of who Bill Cosby was from old Simpsons episodes.
From old Simpsons episodes?
Of course, that's the classic.
That's what everybody knows Bill Cosby from.
That's where I found him out from.
The Simpsons.
Oh, well, boy, what do you like to play? Pokemon, you
I remember that. The kids say the darndest things Simpsons parody.
Yeah.
I thought they did that on Simpsons too. They did that on Family Guy.
No, that
It was a real show.
No, there was a Family Guy one.
There was
Yeah.
No,
I know it's a real show, but Family Guy
they
had
both-
the bit with Stewie,
they both
Stewie
did.
trying to take over the world, and he put the funny goggles on, and he's like, now I'm going skiing down the mountain, zip zap zoobity bop.
Oh yeah, I thought you were saying that the skit from The Simpsons was on
Oh,
Family
no.
Guy.
No, but they
Simpsons,
also did.
those are from Family Guy, right?
But yeah, they both did parodies of Kids Say the Darndest Things. I go down a slope, oh, I'm going zip zap zooming a bop bop.
What's the matter, little fella? Don't you like jump rope?
You like jumping rope, don't you?
We're just gonna sit here and enjoy it.
I don't know how good just quoting Family Guy jokes is for the show.
I got nothing out of it. I don't know what those are from.
To be fair, those are all like from Golden Age Family Guy, so they might get something.
Yeah.
Alright. I'm sorry.
Hold on, I gotta stop laughing.
I can't resist Bill Cosby references. I'm sorry.
Can't stop thinking about yellow Bill Cosby.
Everyone look up House of Cosby's. It's by Justin Rowland. I'm not fucking kidding.
That's by Justin Roiland?
Everyone look up Bill Cosby on Newgrounds and play the one where you hit people with your camera and give them pudding.
Let's see. I don't know if it's like by Justin Rowland, but it's by part of the crew that created Rick and Morty.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's him.
Yeah, okay.
Back when you told me about this show in like high school, it was so cryptid because you'd talk about it like, okay, I want to watch it, and you're like, no, it's not very good. Let's not watch it. And then you keep talking about
it. To be
it.
fair, it's not very good. It's a
like,
funny concept, but you can't make a show out of it, which he tried to do.
That's honest. Yeah, like, it's definitely a concept that's funny to be told.
You just kept saying bathtub Cosby and over. You were muttering it under your breath when you thought we weren't listening.
I like
bathtub Cosby. Bathtub Cosby. Bathtub Cosby.
I never watched it, and I never will, apparently.
I was more into Curiosity Cosby. He's pretty fucking funny.
Curiosity Cosby.
I'm Curiosity Cosby.
I liked when they had Bill Cosby on the Boondocks. And Huey was like, who says what can and can't be said on TV? Bill Cosby? And it cuts to Bill Cosby in like a recording. He goes, yes, I do declare what can and cannot be said on TV.
I wonder if he's going to be referenced in the new season coming out.
If only.
Alright, go ahead. We have Bill Cosby this episode enough.
I like when they try to kidnap Oprah, but they settle for kidnapping Bill Cosby and then bring him back because he talks too much.
So watch House of Cosby, apparently. It's not good, but watch it anyways.
This is the CreepyPasta episode after all.
Although I had a vague idea of who Bill Cosby was from old Simpsons episodes, I'd never actually seen anything he was famous for. But I'll admit, the title intrigued me somewhat. The title, again, for you kids at home, was Bill Cosby Sells His Soul for Pudding.
And then the title was House of Cosby's.
As I clicked the link and sat back to be entertained, I had no idea that I was making the biggest mistake of my life.
It was actually Bill Cosby's fatherhood.
I was actually not entertained.
This was terrible.
I hate how much Bill Cosby I know.
I mean, I'm surprised that doesn't come in bulk from just watching the Cosby Show. Or whatever. Not the Cosby Show, the Fat Albert Show.
I mean, to be fair, he's just like a really big friggin'... He was like one of the biggest comedians for a long time, so
that's
it is
true.
what it is. He had a number of shows.
Yeah, he was everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Watch Little Bill.
I've seen like every Cosby Show for no reason, except for, I guess, the Cosby Show, literally. Because I didn't watch the sitcoms, but, you know, Little B.
Little B.
Isn't Lil B a rapper?
Yeah, he's also a TV show child, but they're the same. They're the same thing.
They're not
Continue.
the same thing. Go ahead.
This video started off innocently enough. Obviously some old commercial for gelatin. Bill Cosby was standing in a kitchen surrounded by little kids. There's an easy way to make Jell-O instant pudding. Just shake it, he announced in a cheery voice. The video skipped a bit at this point, lingering on the shake it part.
It's just annoying. A YouTube poop.
But the internet in the house could become a little jittery at times, so I was used to it freezing. The video cut to Cosby's head moving in from left to the screen. Follow the directions, he said. I wasn't sure why at this time, but something about this was vaguely unsettling, though I thought perhaps it was due to the fact that it was a sudden jump cut. A mangled version of the product jingle played, then it cut back to follow the directions, only slower. Follow the directions. My brow furrowed.
Now it's a YouTube poop.
The next part was from a different advert. Cosby was holding 4 jiggling watermelons. The movement seemed to be semi-cyclical, moving from the start to the end and back again. It was hypnotic and quite nauseating, which made it all the more abrupt when the audio cut to triple speed. What's making these watermelons wiggle? I felt at this point extremely uncomfortable, like my defenses were being broken down inside. I felt just like Jell-O gelatin. Cosby finished the thought for me several times. Just like Jell-O gelatin, just like Jell-O gelatin, just like Jell-O gelatin. This is beginning to feel really weird. The scene cut to a ginger kid repeating the same movement over and over again.
Oh no.
That's it, I thought. Enough of this. Ginger kids freaked me out at the best of times.
That's true.
I looked at the title and I noticed 3 weird letters, YTP. I noticed there was a lot of these in the suggestion bar, so I clicked on another one.
As I raised my hand to move the mouse, something peculiar happened. A cut to Cosby again, moving his left hand in seemingly random directions, putting pops on his right, repeating, this, or this, a number of times. This, or this, or this. My right hand immediately became stiff and started to spasm beyond my control, disrupting my path to the mouse. After that point, I was powerless to control myself, forced to sit and witness what was unfolding before me, regardless of will. At this point of no return, Cosby lingered a look of surprise in my way, almost mockingly, emitting a demonically low-pitched moan.
Zip, zop.
I was scared. Another kid in the video seemed to echo my emotions. Hey, Bill Cosby, what's that? If I could have screamed at that point, I would have. Follow the directions, Cosby repeated horrifyingly.
Follow the directions.
The mangled jingle played again, for longer this time, each second forcibly propping up my eyelids. Follow the directions. Follow the directions. Follow the directions. The watermelon part reappeared, even slower than before, but instead of being nauseated, I felt lulled into subservience. The scene cut to a smiley-faced clock, moving its hand in almost a wave-like pattern. A bit-crunched warning repeated almost too quick for me to make out. You sing, you die, you sing, you die, before crunching completely to a jarring buzz. Its eyes popping open.
This is a YouTube proof, Jesus Christ. You sing, you die, you sing like...
It's got
Before cutting to a screen that appeared to be twisted with a liquefy filter.
Bill Cosby said samplify.
Its eyes popping open and showed its speed.
Samplify.
Follow the directions. Follow the directions. The second one was louder. The video grinded to a complete halt. Cosby's judgmental eyes fixed squarely on mine. Just long enough to make me feel a glimmer of hope that the internet had failed. Before he whipped his head back.
Whipped it back.
Before he whipped his head back, saying, "Don't worry," with a smug superiority. "Put him, Pop, swirl," the demonic Cosby finished. Before letting his head fly about erratically on the unmoving shoulders in a movement akin to something from The Exorcist. What? It continued, as if to eradicate any morsel of critical thinking left in my being. This is a YouTube.
He unleashed his fucking Sony Vegas attack. Important pop swirl.
The demon proceeded to fillet a chocolate pudding pop with a sleazy, unholy glee. A close-up cut to its burningly erotic gaze left me with no semblance of the lie that I had not been violated. Even though the video quality was grainy, those eyes pierced me to my very soul. They were so hyper-realistic.
They are! He's a real guy!
Thank you, it finished, before poising itself like a cat ready to pounce. In the brief respite that followed, I allowed myself to exhale for the first time since the horror began. As the breath exuded, however, I felt my consciousness follow suit, all remnants of perception fading as I slipped into an abyss, serenaded by the haunting echo of watermelons, marking my descent into darkness until I knew no more.
Watermelons?
I came to by the sound of the front door closing downstairs. It was still dark outside. Man, I must have been conked out for at least an hour, I thought to myself as I rubbed the back of my creaky neck on the way to the kitchen. I felt exhausted as I pushed open the door, but I needed both water and to find out who could be calling at this hour. Turns out it was just my housemate getting home from a nightclub. "Hey man," I greeted him. "Didn't know you went out. Don't you have an exam in the morning? What is it, like 4 a.m.? "What are you talking about, dude?" he asked quizzically. "It's only 12:30. And that exam was this morning. You high or something?" At this point, I felt extremely muddled. "No, man, that can't be right. I fell asleep like 2 hours ago. We just finished playing Sonic earlier on, remember?" "Dude, that was yesterday. I ain't seen you at all today." Whatever you're on, you gotta share it with me, he chuckled. My face nodded into a ball of confusion. I simply turned to go check my calendar upstairs. He couldn't have been right.
I put both my hands in front of me, pudding pop swirl, his face then contorted.
I mean, if you fall asleep, you can't just decide how long you were asleep without checking a clock. How would you know that?
Very true. I guess he just has his friggin', I don't know, maybe his clock is just so on point internally.
I simply turned to go check my calendar upstairs. He couldn't have been right. Fine, he snorted. And by the way, you owe me a box of pudding pops, he called after me. I froze. What did you say? My pudding pops. I had a whole box this morning and now they're gone. With that, I felt a tremendous fear and bolted up the stairs.
I ran away as soon as I was accused of something.
Hey man, don't worry about it. I ain't mad. Just got some new ones when you can, that's all. He snorted. Or he shouted. I could barely hear him though as I raced to my room to check my computer. I thought it was just in power save mode when I woke up, but now it wouldn't even turn on. The screen was on standby, but the actual computer was unresponsive. After much frenzied inspection, I found that the power cord had been cut. To say I was freaked out would have been a massive understatement. What in the name of holy hell is going on? I remember muttering to myself. It's been a whole week since then, and things have just been getting stranger and stranger. The blackouts are becoming longer and more frequent, and I can feel myself slipping away. Every time I've slept, I've been plagued by visions of the beast, pudding and ginger kids everywhere. I tried my best to fight it. I've been awake now for 48 hours, but it's no use. I can feel Bill Cosby's presence even in my waking moments. Sometimes I don't know where I am and can't communicate in anything other than nonsensical jabbering. 2 days ago, I suddenly snapped back to reality.
That is everyone's experience when they first figure out about Bill Cosby. You can't get him out of your head. Look at us.
It's true. You just went off quoting Bill Cosby and didn't even say anything.
What?
It's true. You did it as soon as I read the story. The first part.
I don't know what he's talking about.
I said Bill Cosby, and you guys said Family Guy, and then quoted Bill Cosby for like 5 minutes.
It's just when we figured out it was about Bill Cosby and we started talking about the skin, that just spiraled into House of Cosby and other things.
Your brain turned off?
No, it's still off. Bill Cosby's like glue, man. It keeps the switch down.
You guys must be pulling my leg or something.
Anyways, 2 days ago, I suddenly snapped back to reality to find myself staring at my fridge, full to the brim with pudding pops. I screamed and tried to run, but immediately fell to the floor, as I was wearing 2 halves of watermelon on my feet instead of shoes.
Oh no!
That's quite the gag.
That is pretty good.
Watermelon are so big.
This is starting into
They couldn't, like, strap over the top of your foot. How would you even walk with those?
He just, like, smashed his foot inside of it.
They're like round, so he just can't get traction.
He cut it in half and then hollowed out a hole to slide his foot in. They're like giant slippers.
It's like an iCarly skit.
It is.
I'm really scared. There's no one in the house anymore. All my housemates have disappeared. I can't even bear to think what may have happened to them. What in my delirium may I have done? The atrocities that monster may have used these hands for. I'm doomed. There's no hope for me. I realize that now. The reason I went to write this is to share my story so that whatever happens, at least I get the chance to tell my side of it, and maybe spare others potential victims the horror of this terrible fate. To those who love me, my family, my friends, try to remember me as I once was. To everyone else, for all that is holy, whatever you do, do not watch that video. Oh God. Flip, floop, it's happening again. I can flip, flip, feel it. God, please. Zam, zobbity, I can't. Hip hop, hippity hop, oh, much longer. He's Kim Cavity, Kump, Zip, Zombity, help me! Zip, Zaddy, Bop, Zip, Zip, Zim, Bobbity, Flip, Flop, Flip, Zippity, Bop, Zip, Zip, Boop! Follow the directions. FV player SRC equals HTTPS youtube.com/watch?V equals 9EI8QT IJ3JO !HL equals EN_US.
I swear to God,
The
if you put in that link into YouTube poop, that'll be legendary.
I rate that don't watch YouTube poops at night.
I can't copy and paste from this website, so I'd have to literally type this in.
That's fine.
It's cursed. Let's see, I give that a solid 2011 out of 10.
I give that 2 watermelon shoes out of 2.
Oh boy. Those were some scary tales as always, gentlemen.
Oh yeah, that was really good.
And don't you worry, we love the creepypasta, so we'll keep them coming. October's right around the corner, and we're gonna get real spooky up in this biatch.
We're always hungry for more starch.
Can we write our own creepypasta?
No,
Oh,
well,
yeah, I like that.
that's the point of like our Halloween. I think our Halloween ones count as creepypastas in their own way.
True, I guess it... Yeah, I think we can just do our Halloween ones, and if we want to do a creepypasta, we can.
Okay.
Whatever you write.
Yeah, exactly. I want to do a
I'd say
sequel.
I'd say your Christian one counts as a creepypasta.
And then he saw Ian Brandon Anderson.
And your Trump meets Nightmare Before Christmas meets Corey Baxter.
My favorite Halloween one I've ever done is the Oruka Sensei.
All the favorite out of the two of them.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That one is very good.
I'm excited to maybe write a sequel to Hero Killer Cosby.
It's a classic. I had Hero Killer Cosby. I did the My Life Me one with the self-insert. That was scary.
Yeah.
And I did the OKKO one, which I like that one a lot.
Mm,
It's my pride and joy.
that one is fun.
Okay.
I've got the video open.
Does it say YTP?
It does not say YTP, but
You better not watch that.
I'm not going to play the audio on top of the microphone, but I think that you'd benefit from looking this video up and playing the audio.
Good thing you spelled out the link.
Yeah.
Everyone rewind and painstakingly type that link into your search bar.
That's what I had to do, so.
Steven, what's going to be our next topic on our next exciting episode?
Oh, let's see. Our next topic is going to be South Park.
Oh, okay.
Ooh,
There's
Yeah.
probably a lot of those.
Yeah.
interesting.
Something different.
I forgot.
South Park is a very malleable property because it has a lot of celebrities and whatnot on it, so there's a lot of potential for crossovers.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm sure we'll have a lot of celebrity variation in there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I forgot I have to re-sign into fanfiction after I got a new phone.
Mm.
God, I can't remember. I have so many passwords. Which one's the right password? There it is. I got it. We're back in, ladies and gentlemen.
We're good, we're good. Fanfiction is safe.
Fanfiction would not exist without us, and that's just true.
We keep it going, we're the blood. Us and Just Sagan.
We're the Bloods. Who are the Crips?
Please look up Fanfic Paradise on fanfiction.net and please like and comment on my stories. Thank you.
Yeah. What he said.
Alright, well, you guys have a good night, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye!
No, nothing's